What you laughing about, Ray? What's so funny?
Just thinking about you running with them bullets flying all over your top of your head. That's something to see there.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 20 more scenes where actors couldn't keep a straight face.
Sure, go ahead and laugh if you want to.
For this list, we'll be looking at instances in film and TV where actors had trouble maintaining composed expressions due to the hilarious events taking place on set. Thankfully, these breaks would be preserved for audience to see. Did you catch any actors cracking? Let us know in the comments down below. Number 20, Stuttering Lawyer, My Cousin Vinny. My Cousin Vinny is perfectly cast across the board. A standout being Austin Pendleton as a stuttering public defender named John Gibbons. Possessing a real stutter, Pendleton was a friend of director Jonathan Lynn. Although Lynn knew the role was tailor-made for Pendleton, he underestimated just how funny the scene would be. Lynn usually sat by the camera. For Pendleton's big scene, Lynn had to hide behind the camera to conceal his laughter. The actors obviously couldn't do the same.
He didn't, kill anyone.
Although hidden in the background, Joe Pesci, Ralph Macchio, and Mitchell Whitfield can be spotted covering their giggling faces. Whitfield confessed in an interview, when he's stuttering and my shoulders are going up and down like I'm crying, I was laughing. I couldn't help it.
I get a little nervous.
A little nervous.
I'm getting better.
Number 19, Wash and Wear, The Proposal. The Proposal reminded audience what an invaluable comedic talent Sandra Bullock is. The rom-com was also a showcase for Oscar Nunez, who practically steals the show as Ramon. If the blooper reel is any indication, Bullock probably broke the most throughout shooting. One of her breaks even made it into the finished film with Nunez on the receiving end.
No, I'm fine, thank you very much.
Is that tradition?
Oh, but see, it's the texture. I'm not a fish person.
I like it.
Ramon won't take no for an answer while trying to serve Bullock's Margaret an appetizer, shoving it into her mouth. Margaret chews the fishy hors d'oeuvres for several uncomfortable seconds before spitting it on Ramon. Covering her mouth with a napkin, Margaret appears to be holding in her disgust. Based on Bullock's smile though, she was clearly holding in her laughter as Nunez improvised this line.
So sorry. That's okay. Wash and wear.
Number 18, An Eye for Comedy, Will and Grace. The season 8 premiere of Will and Grace kicked off with a live episode, which the cast performed twice for both coasts. Although much of the cast had done stage protections before, preserving a straight face on live television wasn't any less challenging. Deborah Messing and Sean Hayes sniggered the most throughout a conversation about cheating.
I've never cheated.
No.
The two go in and out of character leading up to the film's big reveal. One of Jack's eyebrows was burnt off. Messing tries to put on a horrified face while Hayes attempts to stay solemn. However, a chuckle fest is erupting within both of them. The laughter inevitably breaks free, although Messing is at least able to cover her mouth in hysterical horror. Number 17, Toe in a Bottle, Life. There's nothing funny about being wrongfully incarcerated, but when Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence are amongst the prisoners, there are bound to be more laughs than anticipated. This scene demonstrates the commitment of both actors, as they not only have to wear heavy makeup, but they have to do so while standing barefoot on boxes of bottles. Both stay reserved until Lawrence's toe accidentally slips into a bottle, causing him to crack.
Oh, gee, damn, one of my toes in the bottle, damn it.
Lawrence's laughter proves infectious, getting to Murphy. Yet, both still carry on with the scene, which is made all the more impressive given their uncomfortable circumstances. This slip-up works well within the context of the movie, bringing levity to Ray and Claude's reconciliation after not speaking to each other for several years.
Ray, it sure is good talking to you again.
Good talking to you too.
Number 16. This impression is out of order. The Big Bang Theory. Simon Helberg is best known for playing Howard Wolowitz, but He possesses great range as an actor. His talents are reflected through this Big Bang Theory episode where he impersonates several household names, including Al Pacino. In a blooper, Helberg gets about halfway through his "And Justice for All" parody before losing it.
Organic fungus that looks suspiciously like Al Pacino rises from the forest floor.
Helberg would get through the scene for the finished take, although his co-stars showed no restraint. You can tell that the cast is genuinely cracking up over Helberg's spot-on impression. Kaylee Kuko most notably is seen turning her head to the side, seemingly addressing the crew off-camera as she laughs.
This whole apartment is playing D&D.
For a moment, this is essentially Helberg's one-man show, and the rest of the cast are part of the audience. Number 15, Morons, Blazing Saddles. For all of its over-the-top moments, Blazing Saddles does delve into the harsh reality of racism. For Mel Brooks, the most effective way to combat prejudice has always been to make him laugh. After Sheriff Bart is discriminated against, Jim attempts to cheer his friend up by epitomizing the townsfolk in one word.
I'm glad those fingers ain't loaded. Whew. Just like old times.
Actor Cleavon Little wasn't prepared for Gene Wilder's Morons punchline, resulting in a sincere reaction. Having just heard one of the ugliest words in the English language, Bart and the audience needed something to raise morale. Wilder's line does the trick, but it's Little's smile that brings a much-needed human element to the scene.
You know, morons.
It goes to show that even at his lowest point, Bart's spirit is still blazing. Number 14, The Great Herring War, The Golden Girls. As the girls contemplate whether to continue living together, Rose unintentionally unites them with her nonsensical tall tale of the Great Herring War. It's been rumored that Betty White improvised Rose's story, although script supervisor Isabel O'Mara would debunk this. Everything about the scene was scripted, including B. Arthur and Rue McClanahan's laughter.
Circus, a herring circus, sort of like SeaWorld, only smaller. Much, much smaller.
Although the script called for them to crack up at certain lines, many fans still argue just how much of the laughter was genuine. As Arthur and McClanahan hide their faces, it feels less like scripted laughter and more like the real deal.
Only once.
Maybe Arthur and McClanahan were just that convincing, or maybe this shows the lighthearted side of method acting. Either way, White is the only one with a straight face. Number 13, Pink in the Face, The Return of the Pink Panther. Peter Sellers, like Jacques Clouseau, was an unpredictable screen presence. Even if you knew that an over-the-top antic was coming, that didn't make the execution any less hilarious. For Catherine Schell, it was hard getting through the fourth Pink Panther film without snickering at Sellers' hijinks. Even before Jacques introduced himself to Lady Claudine, Schell can't suppress her natural instinct to laugh.
Depends on your intentions.
Strictly honorable like an asteroid.
At times, Schell's constant smiling works well enough given the scene's flirtatious nature. On multiple occasions, though, Schell hides her laughter behind her hand or a glass. Other times, the filmmakers make no attempt to cover the laughter, just letting it slide. Perhaps they could have done more takes, but then the scene would have been robbed of its spontaneity.
Here is looking at you, kid.
Number 12, Sitting on the Toilet, Ocean's 12. Ocean's 12 is nobody's favorite entry in the heist series.
It's just wrong.
But we do get a memorable line here and there. A highlight comes when Elliot Gould's Ruben is banging on Frank's bathroom door. Scott Kahn's Turk points out how rude Ruben is being given Frank's awkward position. Ruben responds by painting Turk a disgusting portrait of what's going to happen to his feet if he doesn't get to the toilet soon. Before Gould is even done delivering the line, Khan turns away with a grin on his face.
How do you think it feels when you're sitting down on the toilet and someone's banging on the door?
Well, I gotta sit down on the toilet, otherwise I'm gonna shit on your feet. Come on, Frank.
Rather than try to conceal this, the camera follows Khan as he walks off to the side with his head turned. While the line itself is gold, Khan's reaction was seemingly too priceless to tiptoe around. Number 11, food poisoning, parks and recreation. Sometimes it's what you love the most that results in one's undoing. Such is the case with Ben Wyatt and calzones.
It was a calzone.
It was literally just a small calzone.
The Italian delicacy gives Ben, Ron, and Chris food poisoning to the point that they can barely move around the room. As Ben struggles to dial the phone on the floor, Chris leans into the shot with his face taking up much of the frame. Despite being on full display, the expression on Chris's face is often mistaken for agony. Upon further expression though, it's evident that actor Rob Lowe has a massive grin that he's trying to pass off as pain. Perhaps Lowe was in pain during this scene, but it likely had more to do with his funny bone than a stomach bug.
The calzones betrayed me? Never again, guys. As God is my witness, they're dead to me.
Number 10, Principal's Office. This is 40. As well written as Judd Apatow's comedies are, the funniest moments are often the ones delivered on the spot. The most rewatchable scene in This Is 40 finds Melissa McCarthy's Catherine ripping into Pete, Debbie, and Principal Jill. As McCarthy ad-libs insult after insult, Leslie Mann barely wrangles the smile stretching across her face.
This is why everybody hates you, Jill.
Only a few reaction shots made it into the finished scene, as Mann and Paul Rudd both broke down during McCarthy's stone-faced tirade. A longer version of the scene will be featured during the end credits where Mann and Rudd show no restraint.
Probably, I'm gonna start with Karen Carpenter's head, I'm gonna rip her head off, and I'm gonna drink her blood.
Even as the actors break down in tears, McCarthy just keeps going until she's out of creative profanity. Only then does someone say, cut. Number 9, Strip Club, That 70s Show. Here's another scene where the cameras just kept rolling, despite practically everyone on set going to pieces. Escorting Donna and Jackie to a strip club, Kitty gets a little too freaky with the talent. Actress Deborah Jo Rupp hadn't fully rehearsed her enthusiastic dance, catching Mila Kunis off guard. Kunis was broken to the point that she threw herself to the side. Although only Kunis' break made it into the episode, Laura Prepon, Luke Wilson, and the male stripper were all crumbling with the sillies. Rupp was the only one staying in character, waiting for someone off stage to finally put the scene to rest. The question is, who brings more energy to this scene? Kitty or the dedicated stripper doing one-arm push-ups?
I was dying laughing. I was gone. It took forever for me not to laugh.
Number 8, The Cowardly Lion, oh my, The Wizard of Oz. When the Cowardly Lion roars onto the screen, Dorothy and her friends are initially startled. It doesn't take long for them to realize that the beast is about as ferocious as a domesticated kitten. Judy Garland is so unintimidated that she begins to break as the lion trembles in tears. After Dorothy assures the lion that he's not bleeding, Garland takes a brief pause with a grin creeping upon her face.
Well, of course not.
Garland does her best to mask the smile by lifting Toto up to her mouth. From there, Garland manages to shift back into character. Considering that an adult man in a lion suit was crying in front of her, it's amazing that Garland got through this scene with only a minor hiccup.
It's all right now. The wizard will fix everything.
Number 7, The Library Cop, Seinfeld. Jerry Seinfeld might be the most notorious breaker ever to headline a sitcom. On a good day, Seinfeld would get through a scene just grinning. In other cases, Seinfeld helplessly dissolved into giggles. According to Seinfeld, the hardest scene he ever had to shoot paired him with the late Philip Baker Hall as Lieutenant Bookman. Although Hall plays the character with the intensity of a Law and Order detective, Bookman is merely a library investigations officer.
You're a comedian. You make people laugh.
I try.
You think this is all a big joke, don't you?
Bookman's serious demeanor perfectly offsets Seinfeld's silly persona. Seinfeld found the scenario so humorous that they had to do 8 takes. stitching together any usable footage. Even in those clips, Seinfeld lets several smiles slip through as Bookman interrogates him with the conviction of a hardball Humphrey Bogart.
So that scene that you see is made up of about 8 different times we shot it, and we took the pieces that worked and put it together, because I messed that one up a ton.
Number 6, Tight-Lipped Jim, The Office. Like Seinfeld, John Krasinski was infamous for breaking on The Office, with Steve Carell usually at the root of his chuckles. Whenever an episode paired Michael and Jim, you can expect Krasinski to become silly putty in Carell's hand. The episode The Secret is one example. Michael strives to bond with Jim at the soda machine, having learned about his crush on Pam. Krasinski seems to get through the scene fine, but that's only because of the editor.
I'm gonna take off, actually.
All right, well, cool.
According to Jenna Fisher, Krasinski could not stop laughing throughout the scene. The editor could only do so much to hide another Krasinski break at the office supply station. As Angela Kinsey puts it, when Krasinski loses it, his whole body collapses. He just becomes a noodle.
Fact, you are drinking grape soda. You never drink grape soda. Fact, you are talking to Jim. You never talk to Jim.
Number 5, Matt Foley, Saturday Night Live. SNL has given us no shortage of classic breaks across its nearly 50-year history. Matt Foley provided the ultimate endurance test whenever he stormed into Studio 8H. The legendary Chris Farley donned the thick glasses and undersized jacket for the first time in 1993.
See me, I'm hiding behind my hair because I knew that if I looked at him for 1 second more, I was gonna drop off that couch.
Comedy history was made, as evidenced by the cast doing everything in their power not to laugh at Farley's intense delivery and over-the-top gestures. David Spade and Christina Applegate are seemingly the sketch's most prominent breaker, although Julia Sweeney was cracking up so much that the camera had to work around her. Sweeney recalls, "It was like I had the best seat in the house for the funniest freaking thing that was happening on the planet."
Now you kids are probably asking yourselves, hey Matt, how can we get back on the right track?
Number 4, Nip It, The Andy Griffith Show. When you're a seasoned comedy star like Don Knotts, how many times can it take to get a scene right? 5? 10 at most? Try about 20. Specifically this scene from Guest of Honor.
I had to do more than 20 takes because every time I looked at him, I broke out laughing.
Barney Fife isn't the most intimidating officer. He's an even less threatening drill sergeant. But Barney isn't messing around as he grills 3 new deputies. As authoritative as Barney comes off, Knotts was anything but disciplined on set. He couldn't stop laughing thanks to Floyd Lawson, who continually got him with the line, "Nip it."
Nip it in the bud! Nip it! Let's hear it! Nip it!
Knotts eventually eked through the scene, but in the finished version, Griffith is seen covering his gaping grin. Maybe they could have done another take, but after a while, you've got to nip it in the bud. Number 3, The Dentist, The Carol Burnett Show. Harvey Korman might have racked up the most breaks on The Carol Burnett Show, with Tim Conway typically to blame. Conway once said, "My object was to find places in the sketch where I knew I could break up Harvey. I don't think I ever missed." Nowhere was this more apparent than in the dentist sketch where Corman plays Conway's unsuspecting patient.
Yeah, I'll be right with you.
Corman does his darnest to pass off his stifled laughter as physical pain. The longer the sketch goes on though, the more cracks begin to surface. Corman wasn't prepared for the Novocaine portion of the sketch, which is where the hysterics completely take over. Conway claims that Corman was laughing so hard that he wet himself. And this was all done without nitrous oxide.
He did. He actually wet his pants. So,
he wet his pants?
Yes, laughing.
Number 2, biggest. Can we still say that on YouTube? Monty Python's Life of Brian. Michael Palin graduated from Oxford, was knighted by Prince William, and served as a commander of the Order of the British Empire. He's also uttered what might be the most hilarious juvenile name in cinema.
What's funny about Bickus Dickus?
Reflecting on Life of Brian, Palin said that the Pontius Pilate scene was the hardest to shoot because it had to be structured around continuous suppressed laughter. As legend goes, The soldiers were told to keep a straight face, but they were supposedly unprepared for the laugh riot that Palin was about to trigger. Palin gets through most of the scene with unbelievable composure, but even he can't help himself upon coming face to face with Chris Langham. Palin's smile isn't as big as Langham's, but the name finally gets to him.
When I say the name, because...
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1, grabbing the bags, Young Frankenstein. Part of what makes Gene Wilder's performance as Young Frankenstein so great is how seriously he approaches the role. As refined as Wilder can appear as Dr. Frankenstein, he broke so many times that it wasn't uncommon for the crew to do around 15 takes before getting a scene right. The arrival of Madeline Kahn's Elizabeth resulted in one of the funniest and most stressful shoots.
Stop that. I'm talking about the luggage.
The scene itself isn't very long, but it would take up a good portion of the blooper reel. Wilder naturally broke the most frequently, which rubs off on Kahn, Terry Garr, and Marty Feldman. They eventually got a take that Mel Brooks was satisfied with.
Stop that! Now just stop that! Drop it!
All right, that's good. I can use it. I've done it.
Even then, Wilder is visibly smiling as Igor bites and barks at Kahn.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.